Hello. Been hearing a lot about the detention of Telegraph founder Pavel Durov by the French. And there are some aspects to this that I think people are missing. And I want to highlight those to you. Uh, it would appear to me that this was done at the behest of the United States. So let me explain. There are 12 charges listed, but the one that you really need to zero in on. All the other 11 of the 12 are complicity for this, complicity for that, basically blaming him for whatever was posted on the platform. The one that caught my attention is number 2. Quote, refusal to provide information or documents necessary for the conduct and implementation of a wiretap permitted by law upon request of law enforcement agencies. That's very odd language. To my knowledge, I don't think the French have a system in place where they have to go request a wiretap authority from a judge in order to listen into someone's conversation. In fact, I think that restriction may only apply to the United States. I could be wrong, but I know that in the United States, at least in theory, there's a strict wall separating the law enforcement side of the house from the intelligence side of the house. But there's no doubt that the intelligence community, they don't need to go ask for permission to listen in on people's conversations. They're doing it. They're doing it to Americans. They're doing it to foreigners. Not supposed to be doing it to Americans, but they are. And that news came out with Edward Snowden more than a decade ago now. But when you want to take information that has been obtained, let's say through listening in, you've got to go do it legally, at least in the United States, in order for that evidence to be entered into court. And so when I'm reading this sounds like it was the United States requesting that the Telegram channel authorize a wiretap up on a particular target, someone related to Telegram or one of the clients. Now, the lack of specificity in terms of identifying which country requested this creates some interesting scenarios. If this particular charge is allowed to stand up, then any country in the world would be allowed to arrest Pavel Durov if he happens to show up in their country, if they requested them Telegram's cooperation in spying on, whoever, pick your country. So let's say Iran is going to ask Telegram for permission to spy upon the United States. Now I bring Iran up because Iran's the big boogeyman that the United States always likes to trot out as the great enemy we have to oppose. Well, under the theory of this lawsuit, if Pavel did not do what the Iranians wanted him to do, then Iran could, in theory, arrest him, have him arrested for failure to permit a wiretap that's permitted by law. Whose law? There's not universal law governing wiretaps. And my understanding in France is that the intelligence service does not have to jump through a hoop to go to a judge to get a FISA warrant, for example. So we've seen repeatedly over the last month some real egregious, gross violations of civil rights, both in the United States, in the United Kingdom, and now in France. The new authoritarians, the new fascists, that's what appears to be taking place. Because in the United States, first you had the FBI descend upon Scott Ritter's home. And again, notice what happened. They took his phones and computers and said, well, they needed to get access to his messages. They already had access to his messages. They showed him copies of text messages and emails that he had sent and received over at least the last 2 years. So right there, that the United States is already spying. And in this case, the FBI reportedly went to a FISA court, but as we've seen in the past, in the fall of 2016, FBI was lying on its FISA applications and never punished for it. They committed perjury to go after Donald Trump, to go after Carter Page, to go after Michael Flynn, and never suffered any consequence for it, none whatsoever. Then just last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the home of Dmitri signs. Dmitri arrived in the United States in January of 1973, fleeing the Soviet Union, where he was considered a persona non grata. He was a dissident. He opposed the communists. He wanted to see a change. He came to the United States, created a new life for himself, got married, had at least one son, Dmitri Jr., who I know, but then was asked by Donald Trump in 2016 to provide some advice on foreign policy. And so Dmitri, who was president at the time of the Center for National Interest, which had been affiliated closely actually with the Nixon family. And for years, Dmitri had been really a cornerstone in Washington, D.C., of being part of the foreign policy establishment, hosting many conferences, at least one a week, if not more, and would bring together the leading lights both in journalism and in the policy community. He was mentored by people like Paul Nitze and Freddie Clay, who were major players in the national security defense industry in the 1970s and 1980s. Well, I bring up Dmitri because last week before last, his home he still has a home in Virginia, but he's moved back to Russia because he became a target of the FBI, the crooked FBI, with respect to Russiagate, and the Mueller team went after him. He ultimately decided to go back to Russia. He had come to the United States seeking political freedom, seeking the protection of civil rights, and instead he has lived here for all 50 years and to discover that the United States has become as corrupt, if not more so, than the former Soviet Union under the communists. FBI went into his home in Virginia, ransacked it, took paintings, took furniture. This was, in Dimitri's words, a pogrom. I interviewed him today. It'll be up on Countercurrents by Friday. You'll want to see the entire interview. But again, here's another case of the judicial system, law enforcement, out of control and going after somebody who was really a close associate of retired President Richard Nixon, and Dmitri played a significant role in educating the Washington, D.C. Establishment on the foreign policy front, particularly with respect to both the former Soviet Union and modern-day Russia. Then we had Richard Medhurst, an independent journalist, coming back from reporting on the genocidal war of Israel against the Palestinians. And they've pulled off the plane when he lands in his native country, the United Kingdom, and is immediately arrested. Not detained, but arrested and charged with terror, being an accessory to terrorism. Just outrageous. So what we're seeing happen to Pavel Durov is not just happening to him alone. It's happening with greater frequency to more people, and it is a sign that the West has lost touch with its constitutional roots, with its commitment to civil liberties, with its commitment to a free press, and instead they become the oppressor. They become the authoritarian. I've heard some speculate that the reason Durov is in trouble is because the intelligence community wanted a back door into Telegram so that they could monitor what people are doing. Folks, wake the hell up. They're already doing that. You may think applications like Telegram or like WhatsApp or Proton Mail, pick any of them that you think, oh, this is secure, this is encrypted. They're not going to be able to break this. Don't count on it. In fact, count on the fact that they probably already sucking it up, monitoring it, trying to break whatever encryption codes are there. There is no privacy. If you want privacy, then get rid of your cell phone, get rid of your computer, get rid of your television, get rid of your electronic items. Go off the grid, then, yeah, they're not going to be able to track you. But as long as you're using a smartphone and a computer, just to accept that as you're being watched. Big Brother is watching. So they didn't go after Durov because he wasn't cooperating. They don't need his cooperation. What they want him to cooperate in is shutting down all what they label as misinformation, all information that contradicts existing policies, both in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in France. And two of the biggest ones are to try to prevent the truth about the war in Ukraine getting out, the truth that Russia is winning and Ukraine is losing and losing badly. Ditto for the Middle East, to not allow the Israelis to feed their narrative of lies about 40 dead babies. Can't even name one. They haven't shown a picture of one, but they claim that there are 40, while Telegram is rife with pictures of murdered Palestinian babies and toddlers. And then, what's going on in the Sahel, in the middle of Africa, that France used to proclaim as its own colony, sort of an enforced slavery of the black people that lived there. And now France is wanting to try to control what information those people get because Telegram turns out to be pretty popular. So when you step back and look at this charge of refusing to provide information or documents necessary to implement a wiretap permitted by law, got to ask, whose law and why the wiretap, unless you're looking to present charges in the United States in particular. That's all I have for this live stream. Please like and subscribe. Note, I've got 60,000 more than 10,000 subscribers, and was just informed by YouTube that they'll never let me monetize the channel. I've been banned, I guess, because they don't like the truth that I speak. So if you want to provide support, visit me at sonar21.com, and you can support the work that I'm doing there. Thanks for listening.